All right, so welcome to the Python Meetup group. We have been around for quite a bit of time, since 2014. We started in the back of Sugar House Coffee as just an idea with a couple of folks who were like, hey, we need a Salt Lake City oriented Python Meetup group that is close and easy to go. And we actually initially started as a web development meetup group, but we grew and grew and grew to, well, actually it took us one meetup. We decided we're just going to be the Python group. Kind of interesting to watch the trends. We started with Python as a web development kind of focus meetup group, but now definitely it's starting to see a lot more data science. And yeah, kind of interesting to see where the ecosystem's going. Of course, we've had Python 3 since then, and now we're up to 3.10, and we'll talk about that. Yeah, started by myself and a couple others who are not here today. And we are now part of Utah Python, which is a Utah-based nonprofit where basically lets us do things like have fundraisers and do raffle prizes and make sure that the community is supported. Things like getting Python instructors to school and things like that. So that's Utah Python. Let me find, I usually have a whole spiel, but I'm just going to go through here. There's other groups around Utah. There's Python Utah North. They are the Logan Brigham City group. We have the Salt Lake City PyLadies. You don't need to be a lady to join the PyLadies, but they are trying to empower more women to join programming in general. Python at the Point is the Provo meetup group. They will actually be having an in-person mask on event this month. So check them out on Meetup. I'm hoping, no promises yet, based on case numbers, we may have an in-person November meetup, but it would probably also be masks on and vaccination required, of course. More details with that to follow. We haven't decided anything yet. Probably we will make it a point to keep the Zoom going, though. I do like that we have started doing that, and yeah. Let's see here. We also have quite a few others. We have the Utah Data Engineering Meetup. This is old. This is not. This was the last talk they did. They are started by one of our co-hosts here. Also great to check out. PyData SLC, SLC Devs, quite a few others. This agenda itself is linked on our Meetup. You can check that out as it should be the first comment for this Meetup. So if you want to link, there it is, and you should be able to edit in here. Let me see. Any questions with any of us so far? Did you expect the PHP group and now you're realizing, oh, this is the Python group? No? Okay, good, because this is the Python group. Quickly, we have a few GitHub repos. They need updating. Feel free if you ever want to support your local meetup group. We could always use a PR. We can always use speakers. Sponsors, we can also always use Pythonistas like you. Thank you. Usually we do an optional $5 donation for the meetup, but this time it's more of a like, this is more of a, if you want to donate, just hit us up. If you want to sponsor, hit us up. Usually that donation would pay for pizza, but can't really send you pizza right now, unfortunately. So hopefully when we're back in person, we will be continuing to that. Xmission has sponsored quite a few of our raffle prizes in the past. The University of Utah has sponsored our venue, and Tech System has sponsored everything from our soiree to our raffle prizes. So we'll get into what those are at the tail end of this. New sponsors are always appreciated. You can check out pretty much all the money has been updated to through September, from what I gather. And it is available at SLCPython/money on Meetup. And if you want to help sponsor the group, please send us a Slack or a Meetup message, and myself or somebody can take it from there. And we are tax deductible. Something I like to do for our new members, we usually do this in person. If you like, I tried to talk about something non-code. So if you are new, please raise your hand. You can use the chat to do that. I think it's like a button you can press in your Zoom bar. It's a reaction, I think, where you raise your hand. So go ahead and raise your hand and I will see you in the chat if you're new to our group. Starting to get a few people. Don't be shy. It's the time to introduce yourself to the rest of the team. Yay. Excellent. So, quite a few. So we'll start with Leo. You can feel free if you want to share your video or not, or whatever. Just introduce yourself, introduce what do you do on a day-to-day, and then let us know what's your favorite Halloween costume since it's October. So I'll start actually. I'm Ferris. For some reason, I'm an engineering manager at Invitae. We do genetic testing for the medical space. And my favorite Halloween costume, I really like putting toddlers in pumpkin costumes because I just think it's adorable because it's huge and hilarious. So Leo, do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Leo Abner. I'm a principal aesthete at Henry Schein 1, and I started over there like almost 2 months ago. Before that, I was with Progressive Leasing. I was a principal aesthete over there. So this is the first time I'm joining you guys, and I'm excited.
Welcome to the group, Leo. What's your favorite Halloween costume?
That's a tough one. I don't dress up usually, so
Doesn't have to be one you've worn. I mean, I spotted one.
Mario Brothers are like, I think it's fun. Like I see like little kids are using that costume, and it's I think I like that one.
Excellent. Yeah, I am a huge fan of like paired costumes too. If you see like a Mario and a Luigi. So excellent. Excellent. Igor, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Hey, I think, yeah, Igor, whatever fits better. I'm a software engineer, just moved to Salt Lake City a couple of months ago, and I'm trying to find my groups, I guess. I'm a backend engineer, mainly, providing data for the machine learning, and I do specialize in computer vision, mainly pipelines. But otherwise, I don't have a title, it's a startup, so whatever they need, usually I have to do. On my spare time, I do encrypted mail and sort of trying to get rid of all the unwanted emails in mail.io. That's me.
Excellent. What's your favorite Halloween costume?
I don't dress up, but I like to see kids running around, maybe in Ghostbusters costume.
Ghostbusters is a classic. I love the Ghostbusters costume. Definitely did that in 3rd grade. I attached a vacuum to my back. It was a very heavy costume. Did you have a chance? Welcome to Salt Lake City, by the way. Did you have a chance to head up one of the canyons in the madhouse that is the fall colors?
That was the first thing I did.
Excellent. You're doing it right. You're doing Salt Lake City right. So welcome to the group, Igor.
Everything around downtown.
Yeah, excellent. John Salas.
Hi, everyone. My name's John. I just moved back to Salt Lake City, actually. Got done with school. Right now, I'm working as a SCADA and database programmer for a company out of Sisters, Oregon. So I'm working remotely. On my free time, I like to spend my time outside. I like to go mountain biking, hiking, climbing. I ski. And I saw a pretty funny Halloween costume. I think it was on social media somewhere. It was the Slinky from Toy Story, where there was one little kid who was the back end, and then another little kid who was the front end. So I thought that was awesome. Funny. Yeah,
that's awesome. Like the pair costume and all that.
Yeah.
Welcome to the group, John. Welcome back to Salt Lake City.
Cool. Thanks.
Andrew W.
Hi, yeah, I'm Andrew Woolley. I used to be a PHP developer, and I recently switched to Django and Python. My background is GIS, and the Esri is the main company that does GIS, and they went all in with Python, and so I picked it up there, and I've been doing it off and on, but now I'm getting real serious about it, and so yeah, I'm trying to find new ways. I'm the lone developer at our small company, so I'm not, yeah, so I'm looking for outside advice and input, and I'm just looking to learn more. And as far as Halloween costumes go, my favorite is when people build a little framework over their head, and then it looks like their head was cut off and they're holding their head in their hands. I love that one. I think that's the best. I saw Marie Antoinette first. I thought that was super good.
That's a classic. And Marie Antoinette, that's just the cherry on top of the cake that she forced people to eat.
Exactly.
Andrew, well, welcome to the group. One of us. I'm glad we got somebody else off of PHP. I will say something. I selfishly started this group in part because I was a lone developer at my previous, at one of my first professional roles. So totally hear you. I think you're in the right place. Definitely connect on our Slack, and you can always find out more. And yeah, welcome to the game.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Kurt.
Hey, I'm Kurt. My laptop webcam is disabled in the BIOS, so just audio today. But I'm a software engineer at Master Control. The last 6 months, I've been doing a lot of infrastructure as code and setting up some pipelines and stuff. So not too much with Python, but the year before that, I built out like an analytics tool using Python Django, and that was a lot of fun, especially coming from JavaScript. So my favorite Halloween costume, I've got a link in the chat. It's a little girl with like a box over her head, and she's carrying her own head on a platter. So I'm gonna have to agree with Andrew. That hands down is my favorite. Anyways, just excited to be here and get a little input from some other people. I was the only person at my company really working with Python on a day-to-day basis. So I thought it'd be nice to just kind of rub shoulders with some other Pythonistas. Thanks.
Yeah, excellent, and good choice of Halloween costume, it would seem. Now I'm reconsidering mine this year. So this is another selfish thing, I'm just trying to get everybody's input on what I should be for Halloween this year. So Matthew.
I'm gonna keep my audio off right now. It's I'm in a dark room with a bright screen. So yeah, my name is Matthew Jeffs. My background has been more data work, and so that's kind of how I got into Python, just for machine learning capabilities and getting it closer to being more production style models. Python was kind of where it needed to be. And so right now I do less of machine learning with a startup, and we kind of specialize in helping companies who need help in their analytics space. And we'll either do just extract and load, or pretty much if they are just growing really fast and have need a lot of help, so they'll just bring us on. So Python I'll use just depending on the job, but it's definitely one of my favorite tools to use, and so that's why I'm here.
Excellent. What's your favorite Halloween costume?
Oh, I forgot about that one. Favorite's hard to say, but funniest would definitely be see like just a family, and then the kids are the minions, and then the dad is Igor, kind of like from Despicable Me.
Yeah,
Funny
that's
show.
it's a classic as well. Well, welcome to the group.
Thanks.
Paul. Am I saying your name right?
Hi there. I've been actually to a couple meetings. This is the first time I've introduced myself, but I mainly do network automation, primarily using Python and Ansible. And as far as I'm pretty weak on the Halloween costumes, what I have traditionally used is either a skier or a cowboy, which is obviously very weak. And one of my sons did the cut off head in the bucket, which is a classic.
You know, now I have a really good idea. I just watched Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid again, and now I have a toddler, so maybe I should make him the Sundance Kid, and people
There you
I'll
go.
be Butch. But yeah, excellent ideas. Love it. Welcome again to the group. I'm glad to see you again, and
Thank you.
thanks for stepping up, introducing yourself. Ulan or
Yes.
Yulan?
Ulan.
Ulan.
Hello, everybody. This is my first time here. I appreciate the warm welcome. I'm actually in San Francisco, but maybe the upside of the pandemic is that you can make new friends around the world and share ideas. And sometimes, indeed, you are the lone soldier, the person who is not really fitting everywhere, but the person who everyone can rely upon. But it's an opportunity to find like-minded people from around the world. And so that's the positive takeaway that I take from this pandemic. And thanks to Zoom, of course. I wish I were a shareholder earlier.
Oh, I definitely bought shares at the beginning of
Oh.
this. I was like, oh, I should probably get in on this. But anyway,
Good for you. Yeah, I'm more of a finance guy, but I do happen to be also technically inclined. And that said, so my exposure to data comes from databases, SQL, Snowflake. For a long time, I have used VBA. It served me well, but it has its limitations, and Python is just magic compared to what we have seen before. And I started using it, learning it as well, more deeply starting last year. I was able to build some internal applications successfully, but I want to continue the momentum and learn more. And at the end of the day, it's very rewarding when things happen at the click of a button. Something that used to take hours to complete, takes literally a few seconds. And the beauty of Python is that you can do it outside of the Excel spreadsheet. VBA only limited you to Windows products, but now you can do it cross-platform. So when I was in college, I had a dilemma either to do business or software engineering. Now, in retrospect, I kind of kick myself saying I should have done this. Apparently, I like it, and it would have been better for me. So another tangent I'm taking into this is like expansion of my mind as well as future opportunities. And my favorite costume is actually wizard, because I think it's in line with the spirit of the holiday, the magic, and I just like it.
excellent. Wizard is how I feel when I code some really good Python. So seems very apropos. Excellent. Anybody else who wanted to introduce themselves? Once and twice. All right. Well, let's keep right on trucking on this. Yeah. So thanks for introducing yourselves. Let's go. So here's a section that we like to do for our meetup. Kind of who's hiring, who's looking. You know, we're a professional development kind of meetup, even if I'm extremely informal and unprofessional at times. So if you know of somebody in the Valley or remote who's hiring Python career, as long as they conform to the Python code of conduct, which is to say there are no discriminatory clauses in the hiring, which I don't think anybody has really popped up, then yes, please let us know about that opportunity. A few that I will point out are Python Jobs HQ. This has kind of been spun off in the last couple of years and gotten a lot bigger. It's referenced by the Python Software Foundation. Tech Systems, who's sponsored us quite a bit. Kate Conroe's on our Slack. You can always hit her up on our Slack, or you can send her an email or send me a message and I can make sure that you're connected. She's a great recruiter, knows how to make sure that she's matching up with what your skill set is. I work at Invitae. We do genomics testing. If you're interested in that kind of space, we're looking for Django software developers in biotech. It's very rewarding. We're very mission driven. It's my dream job. I dig it. We're looking for 3 senior roles and 1 junior. So we even have a junior role available. We're also looking for a project manager. So if you know a project manager, send them my way, please. Verdigris is Dylan's thing, but he's not here, but you can hit him up at, I'll add Dylan. They do Internet of Things kind of things, and they're looking for data science kind of folks. So if you want web, hit me up. If you want data science, hit Dylan up. And if you're not sure, there's other roles here. Anybody know of other opportunities that they'd like to share? Feel free to raise your hand and I will see you. No? Nobody knows of other stuff. Doesn't necessarily need to be in and around the valley. All right, well, if there are no comments here, we can move on to who's looking. So now in this part of our lovely convo, now is your chance to kind of show off and present yourself, market yourself to the group. Yeah, so feel free to raise your hand if you are looking for a Python role at the moment. This is the fun, awkward part of the Zoom where I wait for somebody to raise their hand. There was a study, it said, I think it was like 7 seconds from a prompt to a response with I think the average room size was like 30 in that study. Huh? No?
It looks like everybody has a job.
Yeah, everybody loves their job and wants to stay, even though it's a white hot job market. I've never seen in all my years of doing this, which has been close to 8, I've never seen the market this crazy I've only seen it once and it wasn't during Python. It was the year Y2K bubble. Not to say we're in a bubble now, but yeah, it's an excellent market. I think it's good for all of us, but also it's an opportunity to develop yourself. So you're here, so you're wanting to develop yourself. So that's good. Yeah, let's talk community news then. Unless anybody, this is the last call. If you are looking for a job, raise your hand. Oh, and I will extend the offer that I always extend. I'm more than happy to help with any resume job search kind of stuff. If you're ever in that situation, hit me up in Slack and I can schedule something, and more than happy to mentor and coach, especially if it's your first like formal role or you want some tips on what your resume should look like and what you kind of want to do with your career. I'm happy to do that kind of coaching with you. Yeah, it's kind of one of the benefits of being in this group is you get to talk to me. I don't know if that's a benefit actually, but anyway.
Actually, I'll take you off on this. I'm interested to enter the engineering space. My skills are somewhat limited, but aptitude is good. So some coaching would be very helpful. Thank you.
Sounds great. We'll take this offline. Hit me up in the Slack and we can move forward and I'll email you like a calendar invite. Yeah, no problem. That's Ulan speaking, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah, excellent. Excellent. Well, if not, let's move on to community news. Python 3.10 is out. Woo. Yeah, that's fun. We can take a look at some of the changes today, maybe if we have time. I really liked this because I've been playing with a lot of set theory for work because it turns out that genetics inheritance patterns really like some of these structures. So we can get into that if anybody ever wants to like crack open a beer and I'll show you kind of the fun stuff with that. But yeah, there's some really nice stuff. I think the other one, if I remember, let's see if it's listed. Well, I forget the way to put this, but basically exceptions are free, which is to say they cost almost no compute time. I think they're pre-computed. So that's kind of an interesting one. If you work in a large ETL pipeline, you may want to consider upgrading simply for that. I'm not sure though. You'd have to do your own benchmarking to see how much it would improve, but it's kind of interesting. Parameter specification is something I wanted to dig in. Maybe we can dig in as a group, but yeah. Let's go back to our agenda, other community news. Oh, looks like somebody added Transform X. Who would like to speak to that? Who added this?
So I added it. It's a conference that's going on today and tomorrow. It's a lot of ML types, ML, AI, deep learning. One of the participants was Elon Musk. So there's a lot of famous influencers that are on the conference, but it's been really good that I've been watching. So it's all day tomorrow too.
Yeah, thanks for the reference there, John. Any other community news related to programming, Python? There was a site that was down yesterday, I think. It was kind of small. What was it? Instaface or
Something like that.
Facegram? It was one of those. Anyway, that's the random news I can think of in the tech world. Yeah. I've had my own DNS issues for the last 2 months that I finally got resolved. So nothing but hearts for that. Also, my neighbor is my next door neighbor is a Facebook reliability engineer. So I have a feeling he needs to get inebriated with me at some point, but I should offer and extend that offer to him. But yeah. Cool. If there's no other community news, we can dive in. I think I'll go a little bit backwards and I'll kind of explain what the format of this is going to look like. So we've been having some issues with getting specific speakers on specific topics. I feel like everybody's busy, myself included. I am in the engineering manager role at my work now. I'm not really just a dev anymore. Not to say that anybody's ever just a dev, but definitely been feeling like I'm doing a lot more synchronous Zoom meetings rather than having like, hey, I can work on this whenever I want, kind of thing. So hard to find speakers specifically for these meetups. So decided to do a little bit different thing today. But before we dive into that, if you're interested in speaking or have an interesting topic idea, or you see one of these many topic ideas and you think you could just knock it out of the park with a talk on that, please hit us up in the Slack, hit us up on the Zoom message right now. Feel free to raise your hand right now if you want to pitch your talk to the rest of the group. Yeah, kind of going to go backwards there. So yeah, next meetup speaker. Yeah, we're still open for November and December. I will also say that PyCon request for talks will be coming. PyCon is in Salt Lake City. So if you want extreme professional development, that might be a really great way to fast track yourself. Give a talk at our meetup group, test it out, see if you want to submit it to PyCon. PyCon will be in Salt Lake City for 2022, which is crazy to think about. Well, that's my pitch for being a speaker at our group. I'm starting to get messages already. This is great. Okay. Okay, well, we can take more of that offline. Let's dive into what I got today, kind of the discussion topics. Threw this together very much last minute, and apologies that it is very much last minute, but kind of put the topics together at the beginning of last month when I had to cancel the group, just timing was not working out. Canceled cancel September's meetup. So put this together, kind of a few topics I think I'm really good at talking about. And I kind of separated them out into, how do you say? There we go. So kind of a whirlwind tour of some fun Python libraries. These are not necessarily like the killer libraries or the most important libraries, but they are well documented. They're easy to use, and I think they have a good amount of depth to them that I think that we could do kind of a beginning, intermediate, advanced talk. So kind of this is kind of the agenda I got over here. As we talk about this, if you feel like you have some experience in this and I'm saying the wrong thing, please raise your hand and let me know, and I'll bring you in, or you can even interrupt me on Zoom, which I'm sure people are getting used to now. Yeah. So with that, I'll kind of dive in. You're going to do kind of a whirlwind tour. Started, if you're, I like to put this in the perspective, especially for the more advanced folk. If you're ever teaching somebody Python, how would you go about it? And I specifically tell people these days, just go and install VS Code. There are lots of other opinionated and maybe more open source text editors available, but VS Code's definitely, well, it's free. It's knocking it out of the park. It's well integrated with GitHub. And with Python. So there's a multitude of reasons I would say to start with that. Setting up a Git library and Python repo, just so everybody here is clear on how I did that.
I have a question.
Oh yes, go ahead.
Why do you prefer VS Code over PyCharm?
I actually use PyCharm on my day-to-day, but like I said, in terms of teaching a beginner, I would always suggest the simpler of the IDE, and also, you know, VS Code is free. So I'm with you. I use PyCharm day to day for work. I live and breathe PyCharm. I actually am the expert at my job now on setting up people's environments in PyCharm. But I will still, especially for this meetup group, I try to do my demos in VS Code simply to keep things accessible. But that's a great question. Thank you. Was that Leo?
Yeah. Because as far as I know, like PyCharm is free too, right?
Yes, the community edition is free.
Yeah.
That's a good
Because
point.
like
So if you do want to dive into that, but I think what I will say again though is that the simpler the better. I used to say just show somebody what's the other editor? This is a good question. It's a tiny Python editor. I think it's called Minio or Mu editor. That's it. Let me find it. So for kids,
It's in micro.
Sorry?
I assume U means micro.
Oh yeah, MU. So this was actually designed for CircuitPython, which we will be raffling off one of those pieces of hardware at the end of this, but I think it's great for absolute beginner programmers, or if you need to set up a computer lab quickly with a bunch of text editors that are all the same and even has like a dark mode, Mu editor is great. Gives the built-in doc strings and all of those little niceties, but it doesn't, you know, get in the way of understanding Python code. So definitely an option. For our demo today, I opened a folder. I have a really easy, I don't have a tree installed on this. I have a very basic, actually it's all flat, so I don't know what I'm talking about here. So these are all the files that I have. I already pushed up the repo. If you want to follow along, I will put that in the Zoom link, and I will add it to the Slack after this. But yeah, we're going to kind of play with this and edit as we go. As I'm going, I will actually be making Git commits, and I'll show how to do, you know, maybe what a good Git commit could look like, what's the point of Git, and we'll play with that. And yeah, let's dive into setting up the Python repo. Essentially, what I would do now as a Python, what, 3, is it 3.9 or 3.8 that added this? But basically, once you have Python installed in the command line, you can just say Python and you'll set up a virtual environment. And this says, hey, I need the virtual environment module, which is now a built-in. And then I personally like to set it up in this dot folder, which will make it hidden. So once you set that up, this will basically install another version, but it's a pinned version of Python, and it'll install a pinned version of any of the libraries we install. So pretend I ran that because I already did. And then this is kind of an interesting command. Dot means inside the context of this directory. It's also equivalent to saying source, but we'll just do dot because I think it looks nicer. And then dot bmd bin activate. And we just came up with a bunch of steps on how to get going, right? And we don't want to be jerks. So let's add some installation steps. So who's not familiar with Markdown, by the way? Feel free to raise your hand or just give a thumbs up or some kind of reaction. I think everybody is. That's great. Oh, we got one for so Austin. This is Markdown. If you use Reddit, this is what they use for editing. So as you can see on the left, code becomes HTML-like styled stuff on the right. So I'm going to say, let's add some steps. Step 0, install Python. And we don't want to be jerks. So let's find a Python. No, yeah. And yeah, if we want to be fancy with our syntax, just make a link like that.
What's the editor that you're using to type this?
This is VS Code.
Oh,
And then the last step is pip install -r requirements.txt. So now, we've updated our README. So let's make a commit. As you can see right here in the, I personally like to do all my Git stuff in the command line. I actually hired a couple new devs, and I found out that they don't use the command line for Git anymore, and I think that's blasphemy, but I'm opinionated and I'm willing to change my opinion. So I'm going to do this in the command line. Git commit, add everything, and here's my message. So add anything that changed. This is kind of a shortcut to adding, and I like to do the imperative commits. So my commit messages personally, I like to make sure they say this commit will, and then I answer the question here. So update README with installation instructions. So now that we've committed that, I want to send it back up to the server. And to do that, I'll just say git push origin name. And so now that's sent up. And as you can see in here, if I refresh, you'll see and you have 3 commits. And now you can see just how last minute I am because, only started this an hour ago. I had some code, but I only put it on Git fairly recently. Why use Git? For people who ask, this is kind of what I will immediately show them. You can see, every change. You can be very explicit about what you've changed. You can take in other people's changes. It's all change management. I think, might be, nope. You are just being mean today. What do you mean it's not found? Okay. Okay, there we go. So, for example, we could go back to this commit if we wanted to. Yeah, I won't dive into Git anymore. I think people kind of get the gist. If you want more information on how to use Git, I would recommend, let's see. How about this? I'll add more info at the end. Let's do that as we go and we're doing this. So I would recommend for people who use Git, anybody know where these docs are if you want to link to them? There is an excellent tutorial that they've added now. And now you just see me like Googling to find the answer. Okay, I'll link this one. This is a good one. There's a much, oh, look, somebody has the book. Thanks, Leo. There's a really good interactive, let me see, interactive GitHub or Git tutorial. There's an online one. This is it. This is what I was looking for. Learn Git branching. If you grok this, you know 80% of what you need to for Git. So I'm going to add that tutorial in this repo and we'll push it up after. So boom.
Yeah, I just want to say that is an awesome source.
Which one?
The one you just posted.
This one? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
incredibly visual, which is definitely one thing I needed.
This, yeah, if we want to rebase, this is what I actually assign as an interview question. So, yeah, this one's hairy. If you can get to this one, I have a job for you. Yeah, we won't dive too much into Git, but I will say this is part of the ecosystem that defines a successful versus novice Pythonista. So that's where I'll leave that. Let's keep going. And I hope this is useful. I'm sorry if this is like a last minute kind of talk, but I figured we could at least talk some Python stuff and code together and y'all can make fun of my awful Python skills. So yeah, so we've done this. We have Git, we've set up a Python repo. Let's talk about Pillow and Flask. So we're going to kind of focus on these two libraries. Maybe we'll talk about Docker and how to use that. I did mention Django in the Meetup talk, and I apologize that we're not doing Django. Obviously, Django is the superior web framework, and it's not necessarily, but it's just, I like to troll people and say that it is the superior one because everybody's opinionated. I like Django personally on my day-to-day, but I taught and I teach people Python using Flask. So we're going to use Flask today. Again, selecting the easier tool rather than the more important one, or rather than the one that may be like more professional, right? So anyway, let's talk Pillow. Who has used the Python imaging library before? Please raise your hand. Anybody? And sorry if you can hear my toddler screaming in the background. Got quite a few reactions. Excellent. Let's see. So I have a few people who've used the Python imaging library. Long story short, we're going to use Pillow, but it's pretty much using oh, and somebody wants to hear your thoughts on Docker and 3.10 in the chat. Okay, so, and then also seeing in the chat, Andrew, you've never had to use Git, but you have to get good at it. I agree with you there. I forced myself to use Git when I was a lone dev so that I wouldn't be a jerk to my future self. So if you keep that in mind, you might have more motivation to use Git going forward. So I'll say that. Let's keep going. What was it? I'm going to talk about Pillow. So this is Pillow. It's the replacement for the Python imaging library. And actually, it's such a drop-in replacement that it is the same import. So from pill, import image, and we're going to open an image. And I took a nice photo of us the other day. So I think everybody's in this shot. I'm not sure. San Francisco's a little bit over here, so maybe not. But yeah, this is taken from Big Cottonwood Canyon, and you can kind of see downtown way over here. And maybe for fun, we'll try to zoom in. But let's use Pillow and let's get some information going. I do have, let's see, we could do a Python console, or we can just run this and yeah. Sorry, the zoom bar's in my way. What else is new? Okay. So yeah, if I hit this, oh, you just don't want to. There we go. Okay, so that ran. So that's another thing that you know you can do this in any editor, but we have in I'd like to set up VS Code to just get it running on this, and we'll dive into more of that in a bit. But as you can see, I keep running this, and it's pretty basic. It's just telling me what's the format, what's the size, and what's the mode. That's all fine and dandy, but Python's an interpreted language, right? So let's give ourselves some tools. I'm going to do which pip real quick just to make sure I'm using the virtual environment pip. And then I'm going to say pip install IPython. Ah, that was blazingly fast. Thank you, demo gods. And I'll type in IPython. And let's just go through here. So from PIL, import image. And then we're going to open the image, and hopefully this will work. Come on, let's see. And what do we got? So that's the image format. What if we want to know other stuff that this image can do? Well, we have a couple ways, and this is how I tend to explore libraries. The old way I used to do it is I would just press IM and dot and start hitting tab. And as you can see, that'll give you every single object and method that's associated to this instance of an image. So that's kind of fun. And just for fun, let's wonder what this palette one does. Yeah, nothing. So what's a better way to do it? You can say IM, and then you'll say question mark. You don't have to add the question indentation, but I like to in my head. I'll say IM. Anyway, this will tell you, more information about the object that you've instantiated. It's a JPEG image file. Oh, one more thing. I use IPython instead of the standard Python interpreter because it has, tab completion and some of these magic little functions. If there are others that people use, definitely feel free to share them in the chat. Yeah. I was thinking we could do this in Jupyter, but let's stick to this for now. The other main way, the best way to learn, the second best way to learn a new library is to go through their docs if they have good docs. So, if you want to just convert something to JPEG, this is the tutorial, right? This is a specific kind of documentation here. We have more in the reference, which will tell you exactly what is in the image module. And even then, oh, these are just really nice docs. They have some examples right away, but also here's all of the functions, right? Image processing functions. How do you construct a new image? All sorts of stuff. Let's look at this one actually as well. Import tags. Ooh, and how do I get tags from an image? I'm curious. I wonder if I just type exif in here. Ah, sweet. So let's try that. So I know this one was taken with the digital camera, so I can do x. No? Looks like I'm not reading this correctly. Image get exif. Come on, Ferris. I thought somebody would correct me actually, but oh well. So we have the exif data in here, and I wonder what this is. So we can say help exif, and it looks like, or we can say exif. Exif? And actually, oh, okay, here's something fun. See how it says string form here? This means that exif has kind of something, this is more advanced Python, but in here we have a class exif, and somebody went ahead and defined this dunder method, and it will return its own representation. So it'll return self dot whatever the object they're storing in there. So it's kind of interesting that they did it this way. And I'm interested in what I just learned right now is that, you can get this. The TLDR is we can do this. So we should be able, yes, do string exif, and now you can see, we're getting all kinds of metadata here, but you can see that this photo was taken, with a Sony. And I think I need to dig into this more, but to get like ISO and other settings, we could probably pull this somewhere from the EXIF data. So kind of interesting. That's part of what we can do with Hello, but nobody cares about that. We want to do something fun. Let's resize the image. Or what's another operation we want to do? Want to color it? Yeah. Let's go back to our tutorial here. And let's add a filter. That'll be fun. So I'll open SLC. Open it to the right. See, I should stick to things I know, right? Anyway, let's do that. Okay, there we go. So we have this open. We have the file right here, right? IM is now that image. And okay, so from PIL import image filter. And let's see, do out equals filter. Image filter is the object. And it looks like we have quite a few. So this one's detail, but it looks like there's a lot. So we could do contour, edge enhance. Let's do edge enhance more. Because why just do a little bit when you could do more? By the way, anybody here familiar with like presets that Instagrammers sell now? I sound like I'm disparaging, but it's a thing now. If you are, feel free to raise your hand or add it in chat. This is a thing now. People have a business where they just sell Adobe presets, which is, I guess, you can make money how you want. The reason I'm kind of dismissive, maybe in my tone, is this color 3D LUT. That's pretty much what they're selling, and you can build these fairly easily and straightforward. So, yeah, if you want to make some money on the side, code up your own with Python. But yeah, let's play with this. So, out will be image filter, edge enhance more. Out dot, and I think I gotta save it now. No. Out dot save. Edge. Somebody correct me. I think this is the syntax. Yeah, that worked. Okay, cool. So didn't see too much of a difference. And kind of, you could start to see the edges, a little bit cleaner in here. Let's do more. What's another filter somebody spotted? Somebody suggest one in the chat and I'll run it as a quick tutorial. Or if you're following along, maybe you have a fun one. Any? No? Okay, I'll find one in the reference. Let's see. So image filter, blur, contour, emboss, smooth more. These are all the filters that are specified. Oh, wow, and they even have the publications, which these are based off. So if you're ever feeling like, I could never code up something like that, well, you can, you're just gonna have to read a lot of books to do it right. So that's fine. Let's do, let's see. Blur. Okay, good one. I'm wondering how much of a blur, but yeah, let's blur. Let's do, okay, we can actually chain if we want, I think. So let's do this. Out equals IM.filter blur. And I think because out is another image, we could do this. Let's just do emboss. That'll show it off too. Now we save that. And let's see, how did this turn out? Oh, look, yeah, it's crazy bad now. Awesome. So as you can see, emboss will kind of give it this rough edge thing. You may be wondering what this could be used for, but I'm sure somebody in computer vision has used this before, and they'll say, "Aha! Look, it's all my tricks." But I know in how do you say, in 3D modeling, this is actually used to create textures in a specific way. You can do these filters, so that's fun. Let's try it without emboss. And remember, we're doing all these operations on the IM object, which is the baseline image. So yeah, so now this is, everything's happening from this slc.jpg. And as you can see, that's blurry. Let's make it really blurry. I wonder if I could do this. And yeah, as you can see, that got a little bit blurrier. So that's fun. What's on? Oh, smooth more. Somebody wants to smooth it more. Okay. I think we can do that. Not just a little bit, but more. So what if you add blur multiple times? That's what I did right here. So you can chain it and then chain it. If you were to add this filter twice, like as another parameter, if you passed it in twice, it wouldn't work because that's not what it's accepting, but it's doing all of these operations. And then you take the result of this and then you add that operation. So that's what you get on the out. Good question though. Let's see, smooth more, what's that look like? Well, it's hard to see the difference on the smooth more, huh? Okay, now that we have a couple images, actually, maybe we should look at what are some other things we could look at? We could look at the file size, right? I think so. Get something, probably get, I don't know what get data is. Oh, imaging core. Ooh, bands. There's 3 bands. Anyway, I'm diving into something I don't fully understand. So I should find the docs. Actually, let's do some geometrical transforms first, because this is kind of where things get important. So something that might pop up, let's say, and where I want to kind of get us to in this in our agenda, we have, pillow, which is going to be our image manipulation. We have Flask, which is going to be web dev. Can somebody see kind of where we're about to go with combining these? That's right, we can write a thumbnailer, so, or a rotator or something like that. So this is kind of important on the web. People are now uploading, fairly large image files, but they need to be able to be loaded on a cellular network, maybe in the middle of nowhere, Utah. So that's kind of where I want us to get to while we're exploring this. We'll see how much time we have today, but yeah, it's kind of a fun coding session, Python meetup thing. So let's make out the, how do we do it? It's not a transpose because that's, it's a resize. Now, I am curious. So I'll check the reference. I think we can do a resize on the width and not the height, which was even more important for, and so the height will be will stay to the aspect ratio of the image. So let's let's figure that out in a second. So this is their suggestion for doing everything in directory. But I think there is a, I want to understand the, I want to show the trick. Yeah, so return a resized copy. So we need to pass in the width and the height. Yeah. And it needs to be a tuple. So notice the trick they did here though, is you can get the width from the image. So let's take a look at that real quick. So there's the width. There's the height. So now we can say, yeah. I'm trying to think the best way. So let's do out. I am resize. We need a tuple. We want it to be, let's make it a third. And it needs to stay a tuple. So I think that's valid. Okay, we'll do that. Height. Let's divide that by 3. And that should work. Let's see. So now let's save. Yeah, so out dot width and out dot height. Yeah, so those both not crossed. And then everybody know what this double divide thing does? Oh, yes. I barely do. Basically,
Escape character first, and then
no,
divided by 3.
no. It's not escape character. It is what is it called? Not integer division. Oh,
Floor?
sorry.
Was it flooring?
Yes, that's it. That's the word. Floor. Basically, don't give me a decimal, just round it down.
Or mod.
Yeah. Mod is
What is different?
yeah, mod's a little bit different. Mod will give you the divisor, so that's not what we're doing. Mod you would use if you want to see if something cleanly divides into something else. But in this case, we know we want to divide it, but we know we don't really want half a pixel, so we're going to floor it. And as you can see, this is now smaller. I'm not zoomed in at all here. This one's not zoomed in at all here, and it's already smaller. So
Hold on. So what was the width? Can you scroll up a little bit in the command?
yeah,
Because I want to see what the width was before we did it.
yeah, we
So
can put it there.
6,048 it was before. So divided by 3. Okay. What if it were not evenly divided? So 2016, but some fraction, would it round up to the digit?
So it looks like it rounds down, but that one rounds down, you know, if it was
Because,
round,
yeah.
it would always round. So let's do one. Yeah, and I like this. This is exactly what we're doing today. So 2014, I'm not that good at math. So yes, so notice this rounded down, it floors, right? Even though if you divide it by 3, technically, if you, and I think this is built in, so I could do 644, 3, and that would go up to 2015. But there's the built-in floor, so I can see 6, 4 divided by 3. And as, oh, wait, no, floor is not import math and math dot floor. I thought floor was built-in. My apologies. There we go. Okay, so yeah, now we've resized our image. Yeah, so that's kind of pillow. Let's start playing with some Flask, and then we'll combine the two. So switching gears a little bit, we have image manipulation. An image is, you know, just a matrix of pixels, and they're different colors of red, green, blue. So let's think. What's another thing? So what's a web page then? Does everybody know what a web page looks like? What it really looks like? Have you ever done,
HTML.
yeah, have you ever done view source? You see, oh, this is all just text. Well, everything's just text, right? It's all, HTML. It has its certain set of rules, but all the server is doing is spitting out character by character, this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and it's streaming it over to you with a set of rules that we established a long time ago as devs, TCP, IP, all that fun stuff. And instead of having to dig through all those docs and implement this yourself, we have an excellent Python library called Flask. And we will play with the minimal application. Now, what first appealed to me when I started playing with Flask was just this, was first off, they had a phenomenal docs. This is over 15 years ago that even taught you, hey, you should probably use a virtual environment. Here's what you're running into when you're trying to play with Python. So if you've never done anything too intense in Python, highly recommend writing a Flask blog or website for yourself. Teaches you everything from WSGI, like advanced stuff, to basics like, oh, how do I like use a template or something like that. For now, we're just going to play with this example specifically, but I will try to respond with the image. I think this will work. We will have to play with the static files a little. Or do we? TBD. I think there's a way that we can stream this right. Trying to remember, it's been a long time since I used Flask, but I think we could directly stream the image back. And what we'll try to do at the tail end of this whole talk today is we're going to return that image object that we've been playing with as a representation. And then we'll start adding, we'll add a parameter in the route so that we can actually have a dynamic server, and we'll play with that. So let's back up. First off, let's write a quick hello world. Why not? So here's our hello world, kind of copying the example. We'll combine the two in a moment. Howdy world, that's this. And let's see. So something that's changed since I started with Flask is that it's now a command line thing. It used to be that you would say Flask and then the thing. So we're going to export the Flask app as Flask hello. And then we'll just type in Flask run. There we go. So first off to note, if you do go onto prod, make sure you read, or sorry, production. If you ever let this face the web, you're going to need to make a few tweaks to your configuration to make things nice and safe, because the web is a large, dangerous, scary place, but also there are ways to get on there safely. So this is beyond the scope of this talk, but just an FYI. I'm going to command click that, and look, we have a website. Hey, look, we even have an image. I'm just kidding. This is a character. As you all know, this is an emoji. It's just a character that we can send, but now that Python 3 is UTF-8 compatible and all that fun jazz, we can actually send it as a native string. Nothing special required. So that's kind of fun. Let's play with Flask a little bit more. Again, excellent docs. I'm going to try to remember how to do request data. That's what we want to play with. So crash course in web development. We make a request to a server. The request spits out some string of data. There's two different verbs that we can use to make a request. We can make a get request or a post request. A get request, you send data via the URL. The post request, you will send data via a body, which is something that the user won't see on the URL, but it's something that, like a file or a form that you filled out. And it is a larger set of things. Suffice to say, get and post have different uses on the web. Use a get when you're trying to like filter some existing data, or you are not expecting to change the data. And if you want to be RESTful, you only use a post or a put. Use a very specific set of verbs to change data. So if you're going to change data, it should be a post. These are all, again, rules of thumb. I'm sure somebody will be correcting me in the chat. Yeah, let's take a look. So this is the request object. Let's add we're going to add only a get request to this. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to take that Salt Lake City image and we're going to host it using Flask. And we're going to change how it gets hosted depending on a couple things. So whatever the person puts in here. So basically, I want this to say, right now we'll change the hello world. So we'll say greeting equals hello, and nothing changes, right? We haven't changed any of the code to change this. However, we will notice, here's the server log, that we are getting this. So let's say, and if somebody's better at Flask than me, definitely correct me here, but I'm going to say get, and then I think we should be able to say request here. And because we're in the app, I think we should be able to say request dot print request dot get. I think. Anybody know offhand? I'm trying to remember. Request dot args dot get. Let's just see all args, whatever. So we'll hit refresh here. Did I save this? Do I need to stop this and restart it? And unexpected. Haha, look, I'm already coding a bug. Methods. It's supposed to be pair programming, everybody. Come on, you're supposed to correct me before I make these mistakes. So as you can see, we now get this immutable multi-dict that's being printed here. We're going to do a quick Python 3 trick. And we're going to say for the greeting, we'll say greeting equals what? We'll say the request dot args dot get. And then we can say greeting. And what's nice about this get operator is we can give it a default. So we'll give it a default. And then in here, we'll just say greeting. And so now when I refresh this, nothing will happen because we have to reset the server. And now it'll say hello.
When did Python become UTF compatible?
With Python 3, and it actually broke a lot of stuff with Python code. It was very contentious, but I think looking in hindsight, it was a good decision. Good question.
But was it the specific version of it, or is it starting everything 3.0?
Everything 3.0. So strings became Unicode.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
If you still need access to a byte type string, which is what the old ones were, you can say, yeah, let's play with this a little bit.
No,
I'll show you a trick.
at this moment I don't need, but earlier you mentioned about this emoji, and I wrote it down. I tried to Google. I couldn't find the exact answer, so that's why I asked.
Yeah. Just so you can see, this is now a string in Python natively. If you did this in Python 2, it would still be, let me show you. It would say byte string maybe. I'm trying to remember. I haven't used Python 2 for type thing. Notice it's bytes. So just an FYI there. And actually, this will probably, it's a good thing you brought this up. This is probably going to become relevant for this next trick that we're going to do. So is everybody clear on how this is working? So we have a greeting parameter here that we're sending, and we're telling it say howdy. If I said nothing in here, nothing would show up. But if I gave it no arguments whatsoever, it would still say howdy. So the reason is, if I get none, which is a very specific type, then just get howdy. If I can't find it, then get howdy. And it's whatever default we want here. Let's try. So now, okay, now we're jumping into intermediate. So basics are done. Let's save our progress a little bit. This commit will what? Add. I'm going to add all these images. We'll add a last example. And let's see if I remember this one off the top of my head. This is a cool trick, if it works. 7? Yeah. So there's a magic, if it starts with % in IPython, it's called a magic function. This magic function, save, will save all the work that we just did into a file. And so now we have, as you can see, we have like all the crap. Yeah.
And it's only on VS or
No,
can it
no.
work?
This is because we're using IPython.
Oh,
So,
on IPython.
yes.
Okay.
So move it to, let's see. So now that's up on the servers in case if somebody wanted to see all the fun stuff we did. And yeah. So now we're going to combine a couple things. We've done, you know, kind of a whirlwind tour pillow, whirlwind tour of Flask. Let's combine, let's forget about this one. We won't do that. Let's combine Flask and pillow. Specifically, now that we've been playing with this image object and we still have it loaded up in memory right here, I'm curious if we can get a byte representation out of this. Does anybody know offhand before I? Oh, there we go. Before I try to print that, yeah, that's a very, very long thing. And let's make a copy of this. And we'll rename it to Pill Flask. And let's stop our server here with Control C. And let's see, export. What is it? What is it? Flask app. Pill Flask. And I should be able to type that. Last one. Flask app. Scan. Yeah, okay, so I did that right. And now we got to what? We're gonna take some of the work that we did here. So let's open it to the side. Oops. There we go. So now, you know, we can take these, do that. So we'll get those imports in. Let's be more explicit with our file name because, you know, we're more intermediate now. We know better than to just put that in there. Later, we could maybe add this as a method, right? We could say, hey, I want to get this specific file name. But for now, we save it as a file name, then we can change it in this next part. So we'll say what? Image equals image.open file name. And Flask returns the string. So in this case, what did we discover? It was im.2 bytes. And if this works, I've never tried this before, by the way. I'm just going by my knowledge of like how the web works. But if this works and how I think Flask works, we should get the image. Or I'll break everything. It's probably the latter. Yeah, it looks like I broke everything. Let's see. Yeah. Time to double check on what I did wrong.
I think you have to do like a send file with the bytes with Flask.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was just Googling trying to Google ahead a little. I'll drop a link that has some examples if you'd like.
Yeah, please do.
Now I can find my chat button.
And file.
It's like the third or fourth one down. Yeah,
I see.
that one right there, that's a good example right there. I think that. So if you already have the bytes, you may be able to start there.
Yes. So we don't need to do this part. We already did that. But we do need to send the meme type. We don't want to send it as an attachment because that'll make it so our browser thinks it should save it right away.
Yeah.
So, but we do need the attachment file name, do we? Let's try.
This may not be a good example. Sorry.
No, don't apologize. I added more than I did. Jeez. Who's speaking, by the way? Is that Mark?
Yes, Mark.
Yeah, no worries. I sincerely appreciate that. Like, this is the most informal. This is probably, we're very informal. So let's play with this. Let's play with return send file. I think you're absolutely right. This is probably a safety thing I didn't even realize. But yeah, look. So as I'm typing in the editor, it's telling me, all of these things. And we've gotten to the first parameter. It can be pathlight or string or binary IO. And in this case, it is a binary IO, I think. Hopefully, we'll see. And we're going to say the mim type now is a image JPEG, right? Who's good at that stuff? I think it's image. Is it like that? Yeah, I think
It's image JPG.
Say again?
Yeah, you got it right.
Okay, cool. And then all these other things I get back. I don't know if I need the attachment file name. Let's play with this. Let's see what happens. No, Mark, I sincerely appreciate it. So don't dismiss yourself, please.
I'll claim credit if it works. Otherwise,
That works for me. Let's just command click that. Yay, internal server error. So I'll take credit. Bytes object has no attribute. Just so I'm not crazy, I think. Because if it's a generator, then that could also make sense. Yeah, it's not a generator, so we're good. Okay, I won't get into what I was trying to do here, but here we go. Stack Overflow to the rescue. Oh, I see. This is clever. This is very clever. Okay, let me walk through what this is doing. String IO, is that a built-in? Does anybody know offhand? I think it is. Huh? Oh, the other thing to always check is the dates. Python 3 requires byte.io. See, that was a Python 2. And look, a reference to something that doesn't work. So, look, this is a better one. Use byte.io. That makes sense. So just as we were talking about the difference between Python 2 and 3, here's another one. So the fact is we have to be explicit about bytes.io. File name, so here's image. Interesting though. Before I do that, I'm just going to do a sanity check right here, where I'm not changing, I'm not sending the bytes explicitly. What if it turns out I could just do this? Nope. Oh, because this isn't defined. Let's get rid of that. Nope.
I think you have to import IO and then run it from IO.
There you go. Yeah, you're right. So we're going to save this. It's a JPEG. Quality, which will also reduce the quality, but also reduce the file size. So that's cool. Seek. So this is kind of more advanced, but basically, because we wrote into this file handler, we now have to go back to the front. So it's kind of a cursor. It's kind of like adding a character. But it doesn't really have a track of like where we've been adding characters. So now we have to go, if we were to just send it like this, it would be blank, right? We wouldn't have anything. So we're saying start from the beginning again. And that's getting more advanced than I thought it would be. Oh, and then this would help. I think that's actually the meme type. And stop that. And if this doesn't work, then I will, yay, okay, it worked. So here we go. And as you can see, well, maybe you can't see, the quality is a little bit lower, but yeah, this is actually, it's not too noticeable. If you start pixel peeping in the trees here, you can kind of see it. So that's fun. So now what we can do is let's play with what we were just doing, and let's add a few more configs to this. Specifically, let's add a, let's say, what would be a good one? So somewhere here, we can do some of the stuff that we've been doing. So, sorry. Let's grab this one, paste it in here, and let's say resize. We'll have this default to 1. And let's say now,
If there's something that might make it easier, do a thumbnail, it saves it in place, by the way. You don't have to actually reset it, but I guess that works too.
I don't want to save the original file in place though, right? I
Oh.
don't want to do an operation on
That's for
that.
your original way.
Yeah,
True.
I just want to temporarily change it as it displays on the web page, right? So we're kind of building an in-memory file resizer thing, but I like the idea. Thanks for the suggestion. Height, resize multiplier. And it would help if I
You have an
remembered the name of my variables. Say again?
Oh, sorry, you got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this should run. Okay, and now if I say resize, and I say 10, it should make it tiny. I broke everything. This is what development looks like. Unsupported operand type. So what I did wrong is I need to cast this. So I need to tell it exactly what kind of how do you say what kind of type it is. So everything that gets passed up in here is a string. Even though I put in an int, it'll be logged as a string until I change the type. And there we go. So now I should be able to make it tiny. Look at that. I made it tiny. I'm actually pretty impressed with myself that this demo worked. I'm not gonna lie. Let's add one more. What was one that we had fun with? Let's make a Boolean blur or smooth. Yeah. And this time, let's make it a Boolean. And so default will be false. If blur, we now have to take that blur, and I'm going to just say it's a number. If blur, and then I actually have to, there's probably a better way to write this. Somebody probably knows. Boom, and we'll just do that. I think there's a cleaner way to write this, but for now, does everybody get what this is about to do? I can add one more, and I'll say blur equals 1. And I should start my server back up. And I broke everything, of course. I see. Ha! If blur, if int. There. Force a cast. I gotta restart. There we go. So now it's blurry, as you can see. And now it shouldn't be. And back to that point of image, like saving in place as a thumbnail or what have you, like that's part of what I want to be able to do, right? Is we have your main asset, and let's say you were making a photo gallery. So you could build out something like this as just a bunch of images. So actually, I'm gonna do one more. Should I? Yeah. Yeah, let's have fun with this. So let's build a gallery. would help if I could spell. So this is how you could do a multi-line string. And we'll have some fun with this. So now our image source is going to be resize 10, blur equals 1. And let's do one where it's like that and that. And route it like that. So now notice we have this gallery route. So if I restart, if everything goes well, I should be able to go to here and go and say gallery. And if this doesn't work, I know why. Okay, so there we go. So now we got both images and we have our source code. And as you can see, we're just doing that. And I broke everything somehow. So let me wrap this with something. But yeah, if it's not obvious, I mean, it should, maybe it's clicking for some folk, but this is extremely powerful, right? Like you could build an entire website, build a gallery. If you hooked this up to a database, for example, you could start doing stuff like build your own Tumblr or Flickr or Instagram. Fun fact, Instagram's hosted with Python, so you wouldn't be the first. But yeah, these are the tools that you have. And mixing them together, that's the power of Python. It's the second best language at everything. But taking two, well-designed libraries and combining them, that's quite the superpower of Python. So any questions or anything else that we should try out before I call it for now? If we have time, I was thinking of setting up Docker with Python 3.10. But that one, yeah,
You said
actually,
second best language. What is
yeah.
first?
The first is whatever language specializes in the domain that you're doing. So if you're doing something like writing a video game, Python might give you, something like Pygame, and it'll let you sketch out and do just a quick demo of the game, but it's not going to be the most performant language necessarily for that video game, right? You might use something like C#, but C# isn't the best language for like doing data analysis or data science. There's probably another language that's better, right? So Python, that's kind of the joke, is that it's the second best language at pretty much everything. So if you want to get something sketched out or minimal viable, whatever, I say use Python, get it sketched out. And if you need to refine and get something more performant, take that and work on use a different language. So, and just never use PHP. Just kidding. But you don't need to anymore is my point with this.
So I built an application for internal use at our company, but recently we had security upgrades, and I'm not experiencing on my computer, but some other users, when they install Python, downloading the installation file from the Python Foundation website didn't help. You had to go through the Microsoft store to install it. But once you do that, the application failed, and we just encountered it earlier today, literally like 3 hours ago. And I'm still trying to figure out what happened. But when you import libraries, like import OS and so on, it would stumble upon import requests. And I thought I had everything installed through pip, but something is off, and I'm puzzled by this.
So if I was in your shoes, the first thing I would do is in here, you can always do sys and then sys dot. Yeah, sys.path. So if you do these two commands, this is telling you where it's getting all its imports from. So specifically, I would make sure that your site packages is being referenced, and it's being referenced from your virtual environment if you're using a virtual environment. If you're not, I can't really do tech support further, but that's pretty much what I'd say.
Okay.
Other questions? Should we try that, dude? I'm wondering if my Docker's working locally, actually.
I'd really be interested in seeing the Docker with 310.
Fine. I'm just kidding. Let's see what happens. Okay, Docker's hopefully going to be up and running. How likely are you to recommend? I just never have that conversation with anybody. Actually, should I recommend it to everybody right now? I don't know. Docker, for those who don't know, it's basically a way to kind of store an operating system in a file. That's the really short version, but basically you can set up the environment in which your code would be running in a very specific way. I'm going to look up the Python, or did I have a demo already? Hold on. I don't want to open it as a workspace. I think I have it here. Here we go. Haha, thank you, past tense Ferris. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and make a new Docker file in here. And I think we should be able to just get rid of this. And how do I know? I can check Docker Hub real quick. So for people who don't know, these are pre-built, I'm gonna say images. I'm gonna get the terminology wrong, so please don't quote me. But these are pre-built images that should have specific tags. Yeah, there we go. So we got these tags up and running. So just so people know, well, and I guess it even has this in here. We can specify how we're, sorry, which operating system is being used. And I think, does anybody know the difference between Bullseye and the rest? I know that's, or sorry, this is the latest Debian, isn't it? Yeah. Huh, let's find out. You can either use Debian, Ubuntu, or Alpine, and Alpine's kind of specifically for Docker. Lots of people will end up defaulting to this, and that's totally fine. Everybody has their own preference. I personally have been using, what have I been using? I've been using, and I even had my, even had a demo of like my full project. This one's not, this was like part of research for work, so I don't know if I'm allowed to show this, but whatever. This is kind of like the best way to build Docker files I've noticed from here on out, and this is like a lot more in depth, but it layers your build. You're using UVcorn. Again, we were talking about production deploys. This one's much safer for production deploys because you can set up which one is your production and what's being run here. A bit too advanced for this demo. Suffice to say, yeah, I'm using Slim. So I'm going to try doing that here. And copy this, pip install with the requirements, copy. What's the thing I need? I need to do an export. Man, you're really testing my dev skills. I feel like I'm in a job interview. This is great. Okay, so that's what I needed. This environment variable, and I'm gonna say, what have I been exporting this whole time? It's Flask app, right? And then we need PIL, Flask, and then Python. We don't need to run it like this. We just run Flask. And I think the only other thing we need to do is expose 5,000. Was that what it was? Yeah. So that'll say, not export, expose. Yeah. I think this will work. Let's find out. I'm going to find out how good I am at Docker 2. Build, tag it as October demo. I'll say dot, which means reference anything that's called Docker file in the current directory. So what's happening right now is we're building our own image based on another image, right? So that's why we have this from directive saying, hey, this is the base image, and then we're going to build another image. And here's some of the directives. We're going to set up a workspace directory called user source app. We're going to copy the requirements file in. Oh, you know what? Oh, and then we're going to copy everything in, which is fine right here. This pip should be part of this Python install, right? Notice that we didn't have to install it here. And it made it all the way through. Expose 5,000, command Flask. This is all set up.
Is it good? Well, can I ask a stupid question?
They're not stupid.
I don't know what I heard Docker a couple of times, but I don't know what it does.
As I think, hold on. Run. Oh, we got to the bottom of this. Oh, I forgot to say run again. Ha ha ha. Sorry, let me rebuild this. And while that's rebuilding, I'll explain things a little bit better.
I would call Docker OS virtualization versus VMs are hardware virtualization.
That's a good way to put it. Hey, is this working? No, it's not. I wonder why. Do I need to do this?
I'm still not clear on the virtualization of operating system versus virtual machine. What does that mean? So you can create Windows on a Linux machine, or?
You can now, I think. That it didn't used to be the case. But that's a good way to think about it. It's a definition of the operating system image that you want to run. I don't know how to put this. How do you explain Docker?
Wasn't it port, export port,
Is it export?
or expose port? I think we need to add port. Maybe I'm mistaken.
It's running on 5,000. I thought I had to say internal to external. And notice in the log, we're not getting the response back, so it's not making it to the server. We'll time box another like 5 minutes to fix this, but if I don't have a fix, I'm not going to beat myself up. Hello, whale. I wonder if that's the case here. So I just noticed this host. And I wonder if I have to run. Oh, look at this. I wonder if I have to expose it one more time. Well, I thought that would be built in. Nope, that wasn't it. Anybody else have a idea why it's not working? Somebody else's random blog spam. I wonder, so what I'm seeing here, by the way, this host to zeros is a, yeah, look, there we go. It's not going to get captured and exposed because localhost doesn't get exposed. So let's make this change really quick. And I think, yeah, they're going to say Python app. I think we can say Python PIL flask.py. And let's actually do this correctly. Sorry. Let's build it one more time. So notice when we make a change to the image, notice it has a lot of this stuff cached, by the way. We didn't have to repeat the steps, only this last step. It's kind of clever like that. Let's see if that did it. Ooh, this is looking more promising. Yeah. Let's see. No. Ah, so close, yet so far.
But didn't you put port 80 in the file?
Did I? You're right. Good point. Actually, I don't know if I needed to rebuild this, but I'm going to anyway. There we go. That did it. So now we're running localhost 5000. And it looks like we got this. And let's see. If we do gallery, yay, we got our 2. And then it should have made 2 calls right here. Yep, there we go. So now you know everything that you need to know to be hired as a junior developer anywhere. No, I'm just kidding. But this should expose anybody who's kind of new at this to what's involved in a more robust Python program. So yeah, thanks for the hint there. I'm glad somebody pair programmed and saw that. Let me do this real quick. And alrighty. And I just want to make sure. Yeah, we got our push up. So now we have our Docker file. And if you want to go very, 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 very fancy, I think, yeah, that worked. If you're in GitHub, this is another reason I try to teach with VS Code. As of, I think a couple months ago, if you're in GitHub and you're logged in and you're looking at a repo and you just hit dot, like the period key, you now have access to VS Code in a browser. This is extremely powerful for a number of reasons. But one of the biggest reasons is it's a full-on like machine under the hood that you're being given. In fact, you should be able to open. there is a way to open a terminal. Ugh, I can't remember right now. I'm starting to burn out. I've been in Zooms all day. So there's a way to open a terminal. There's a way to actually run Docker on the web. It's pretty awesome. And then there's a way, this will actually set up a mini web server for you, and you can demo this and show all your friends. So it is just a dev environment, so don't host anything too serious on there, but it's kind of a nice tool to have in your back pocket. I've definitely done this with an iPad before, actually this year, where I just wanted to code something out, and yeah, it's pretty incredible. So this is fairly recent, and I recommend that everybody gives it a try. And yeah. GitHub.dev, I guess, is the new thing there, but yeah. Cool, that's what I have for today's talk. I will add one more piece of code, and that is going to be our raffle. And yeah, we do this with Python, so let's take a look. So, oh, I forgot to give a step to everybody first. We have a meetup called, or sorry, this Slack channel. So if you want to enter the raffle, you need to enter this specific Slack channel, which I'll copy to general. And you should just be able to click on this, and it should join you into this channel. So make sure you join this channel. I'll give everybody a few moments to join the channel, to others. And yeah, give me 1 sec. I'll be right back. I just want to get the raffle prize. Hello again. So speaking of Python hardware, we were looking at Mu Editor, specifically written for devices like this, so that you can teach a kid Python without having to go through all of this installation stuff, or if they didn't have their own dedicated laptop to work on, or if you just want to learn how hardware works. This specific object is called a PyPortal. It takes an SD card. Let's see, what is this thing? Oh yeah, this up here is a Wi-Fi antenna, and it takes a USB-C power, and it's super portable and very, very low voltage. So you could put this pretty much anywhere, and you could build, you know, a weather display app, or you can build whatever you can think of that you want on a tiny little screen, and it's all Python, which is kind of amazing. Python running on that tiny little Atmel chip right there. It might not be this kind of device, but we are giving out a Circuit Python, and we should give out, let's give out one today for our October raffle. Yeah. And is everybody in the channel? And if Jeffrey wins, I guess he's being nice enough. Maybe he'll get it. But actually, you got to be present to win. So maybe I should. There's few enough people I can just. Yeah. Hi, pal. Let's just do this way. I'm just hand typing your names, so sorry if I'm too lazy to hit that shift button. The reason I typically have people in the channel when it's quite a few people, I'll just go like who, and then you can just copy this, and then, you know, In Python, I could just say Pythonistas. I had to do this at work today, actually. It's kind of funny. Somebody gave me a huge request of, they needed 110 genes to be filtered on this Django app. And at some point I was like, oh, I'll have to surround all this in quotes. And you don't have to surround all this in quotes. You could just do Pythonistas.split. And then notice it's now an array. Huzzah, but I just manually wrote one here. Does that look like valid code?
Looks good to me.
Seems
Yeah.
like.
It's a valid pull request. There we go. Got pair programming. Oh, look, line 1 invalid. What are you talking about? You're invalid. What the heck? Where's my invalid? Geez, sneaking in just to win the raffle, huh, Dylan?
Yes, hopefully.
Austin, you're the winner. Congrats. If you would kindly send me your address via Slack, I will add you to my spreadsheet of people I need to send raffle prizes to.
Will do. Thanks for putting this on, Ferris.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for joining. Our next meetup will be the first Wednesday of November, and I'm trying to remember what that is. Cal. Is that one? Cal 11. There we go. Wait, that's the year 11. There we go. I always forget these Unix commands. So that's November 3rd will be our next meetup. I highly encourage, especially people in this group, please feel free to give a talk. Appreciate all of you being here. If you need any career coaching, please let me know. Hit me up in this Slack. And other than that, I'm going to put my kiddo to bed as well. So yeah, thanks for joining. Austin, please send that Slack when you can.
Very interesting. Thank you.
It was fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you, Ferris.